I'm David Fleming from the Disciples Ignited YouTube channel, where we are focused on Jesus, advancing his kingdom, and preparing his disciples. Well, we've been studying this prophetic book of Nahum in the Minor Prophets for a few days now, and the thing that has really struck me is God gave Nahum a message of judgment against the Assyrian Empire. But that wasn't the first time that the Lord had raised up a prophet with a message of judgment against the Assyrians. It happened 100 years before Nahum was even born with the prophet Jonah. God spoke to Jonah and sent him to Assyria, and he went to Nineveh, the capital city of the Assyrian Empire, and he declared this message of God's judgment against the Assyrians. But instead of judgment coming, revival broke out. What happened? Well, the people repented. They took God's message of judgment seriously, and they fell before the Lord in repentance. And how did the Lord respond? Well, he relented. Instead of sending judgment, the Lord sent revival. It changed not only Nineveh, but we see that it really changed the entire Assyrian Empire. But what strikes me is just one generation after that, the Assyrian Empire begins to go back to their evil ways. Because we see that the Assyrian Empire went back to the kingdom of Israel, and they destroyed the capital city of the kingdom of Israel, which was Samaria, and they exiled the children of Israel, took 10 of the tribes of Israel into exile. They had returned, the Assyrians had returned to their evil ways, to their cruelty, to their rebellion, to their wickedness, to their idolatry, to their sin. But you know, before we cast stones upon the Assyrians, we really need to look to us, because they experienced something that I believe that every one of us have experienced. The Lord does something special in our lives. We're revived. We're excited about Jesus. We serve him with zeal, with all of our hearts. And then something happens and we just start going back to our old ways, our spiritual lethargy. We become cold in our hearts. We lose our first love. So how do we break that cycle? Well, it's really found in one word: relationship. You see, as long as our relationship with Jesus is tight, as long as we're walking closely with Jesus, everything's good. There's many verses throughout the Bible that teach us about our relationship, what our relationship with the Lord should be like. But I want to share with you 3 that I believe will be most helpful. First of all, 1 John chapter 1, verse 7 tells us, "But if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another." There you have it. Walking in the light. And who is the light? Jesus tells us, "I am the light of the world." So as we walk in his light, that means that we are walking literally in Jesus. He is the light. And what does that light do for us? Well, let me read to you from John chapter 1. Listen to this. "In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it." Wow. As we walk in his light, we are walking in Jesus, because he is the light. And we are literally experiencing his life. Remember what we just read in John chapter 1? In him was life, and that life was the light. And so we enjoy his light, which is life. That reminds me of John chapter 10, verse 10. "I came that you may have life and have it abundantly." And as we live in his life, we begin to walk like Jesus. Let's talk more about it tomorrow.